Hi everyone, it's Brittany from Create Your Future, and in today's video I have two success stories for you. One of them which is a client and the other one is a personal story, and they're both super exciting, but the one with my client I am like just blown away over. I still can't get over it, and I'm super excited to share it with you guys. So before I get started, I just wanted to remind you that we are still doing a giveaway. Once we reach 100,000 subscribers, we will be giving away 3 free coaching sessions. All of the information and all the details on how to enter into that giveaway is going to be in the description box below. So these two success stories are both about health. I know we love to talk about SP, and sometimes I'll throw in some money success stories here and there, but generally it's mainly about SP things, and that's totally cool. I love SP success stories, but lots of times people have asked me, have you ever heard anybody manifest a healthier lifestyle, or anything where you have cured an illness, or you were able to manifest something where it seemed like it was impossible health-wise? And I have, personally I have. So I'll tell you my story really quick. For me, when I was I was in my mid-20s, I guess, I was getting sick all the time. And I'll tell you guys, before my 20s, when I was a teenager in high school, I was getting sick all the time, constantly. I missed so much. I ended up missing, I think, 2 months of school total, because I was just so sick. I was constantly getting sick, and they had diagnosed me with something called chronic fatigue syndrome, which to me, I was just that doesn't even sound like a thing, but okay. But yeah, that's what they told me I had. So apparently if you have that, it makes your immune system weaker. Well, anyway, as I got older, things kind of stabilized a little bit, and I didn't really have any issues for a while. Then when I got into my mid-20s, after I had already had my older 2 children, I was getting really sick again. I just kept getting every single thing. If you had a cold, I would get it, but I would get it twice as bad. And it was literally I had a weak immune system. And of course, I'm guessing that I, attached myself to that story that the doctor told me, that I have a weak immune system, and that's what was happening. But in any case, I ended up getting diagnosed with something called Hashimoto's thyroid disease, which is an autoimmune disease, okay? And with that, doctors tell you that it's not curable, you're gonna have it for the rest of your life, and you just have to get onto medication at some point once your levels are out of control. At the time, I was kind of stable in my blood work, but physically I wasn't. I had a very enlarged thyroid, so large that people would, well, not people, but doctors, when they would see me, they would say, oh wow, have you gotten that checked out? Yeah, that doesn't look good. So it was very obvious. And I had tons of work, lab work done. I had ultrasounds that I had to get every 6 months, and to make sure everything was okay. And at one point, my thyroid had basically doubled in size. It wasn't my actual thyroid, it was the nodules on my thyroid. So those were doubling in size, and the doctor had told me, okay, look, you might have to have your thyroid removed, actually, because it was causing me trouble even swallowing. It was hard to swallow. I kept feeling like food was getting stuck. I just had a problem swallowing in general. It was just really difficult. Plus all the other symptoms that I was having, which was extremely dry skin, my hair was falling out. I was just extremely fatigued. I was just so tired all the time. I would take so many naps. I was miserable, really. And the doctor was like, yeah, you really might need to get your thyroid removed. So before we jumped into that, I was like, okay, I really do not want to get my thyroid removed, because number one, who wants to have a surgery like that? It's scary. Number two, they said if you get your thyroid removed, you're absolutely going to have to be on medication for the rest of your life, because there's no way you can, your endocrine system needs your thyroid to function. So I would have to be on some synthetic drug forever. And I'm not the kind of person who wants to be on medication. I'm just not. I always like to try to figure out natural ways first, to see if I can and make it work. And this was before I knew about manifesting, obviously. So I had said, you know what? Let me think about it. I'm going to figure something out. I know there's got to be another way around this. So at that time, and I think I had mentioned this to you guys before, like I did know about manifesting, but I didn't know as much as I know now. So I started thinking, okay, there has to be a way I can do this without having this major surgery. Like, I know it's possible. So I started just doing some research and trying to figure out ways that I could, basically heal myself from this autoimmune disease that apparently was non-curable. So in my research, I found that you could change, lots of people had lessened their symptoms, and even some people were claiming that they had healed completely by changing their diet. So I was like, oh, okay, that might be something I'll look into. I was all ready to do that, and I started thinking, wait, I know somebody was telling me that they've used the placebo effect to lose weight. Okay, so that means if they were tricking themselves into dieting, like they weren't actually dieting, okay? They're telling themselves that they are. So when they're eating this brownie, they're saying it's healthy, right? They're saying it's healthy food. And I knew, like, okay, this is the placebo effect. So I decided I'm gonna use the placebo effect to try to heal my autoimmune disease. And that's exactly what I did. I told myself every time I ate something, no matter what it was, this is healing my body. This is completely healing every illness. This is healing my thyroid. This is healing me completely. Like, I would say this is the healthiest thing I'm eating. It's healing me every single time. And anytime anyone would ask me, because, my family members did know about the situation. They would ask me, like, how are you feeling? Even if I was feeling miserable, I would say, I'm feeling great. Like, my skin is balancing out. It's not dry. I'm not losing as much hair. I'm feeling more energized, and I'm really feeling good. And that's because I've changed my diet. I really didn't change my diet, okay? But I'm saying this. I'm telling myself this. I'm convincing myself, because I was using the placebo effect. And after I was having to get my blood work drawn every 3 months and having to get sonograms done every 6 months. So I was due for my blood work in like 2 months from then. And I was doing this consistently every single day, all the time. 2 months later, go to get my labs done. Everything looks normal, which, to be honest, not that strange for me, because like I said, my blood work was never really an issue. But they said, okay, great, blood work looks good. We're still gonna keep on with the sonogram. So wait another 3 months. I went in 3 months later, had my sonogram done, and literally, I had 2 nodules still, when before I had like 13 nodules down to 2, and they had shrunk majorly in size, like less than half of what they were. And my doctor was like, did you start taking medication? I don't see that in your chart. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And he's like, what have you been doing? What's going on? This is insane. I've never seen this happen so fast. Yes, I've seen nodules shrink over time, but I haven't just seen them completely disappear seemingly out of nowhere, basically, was what he was saying. And I said, well, I changed my diet. And he was like, well, what diet? And I said, I'm eating lots of protein and high healthy fats. That's it. And he was like, okay, well, that's amazing. Keep with it. So I continued to tell myself that that's how I was eating. And in the process, lost whatever weight I needed to lose at the time, which wasn't a lot. It was like I had gained maybe 10 pounds during that time. But I used the placebo effect to look at these results. And still to this day, like I told you, this was in my late 20s at this point when I started to actually heal myself. And to this day, no problems. I don't have to get sonograms anymore. I get regular labs like everybody else when I have my physicals, and there's no issues at all. Everything is completely gone, and I literally do not have an autoimmune disease anymore. So that's how I was able to heal that for myself. And like I said, you can use the placebo effect for anything. Like if you guys are having trouble with, you know, your mental diet, or when you see something in the 3D that you don't like, and it's like opposite of what you're trying to affirm for, or whatever you're doing, try the placebo effect. And you can actually do things in the 3D as well. You don't have to like do what I did and say, okay, well, I'm eating perfectly while you're not, you know, while you think you're not, and you're like, this feels wrong. It feels like I'm lying. You can do things like this. Like you could even say, every time I drink a glass of water, I make $1,000. Okay, that sounds silly, but as soon as your subconscious is saturated with that belief, then that's what's going to be true for you. So use the placebo effect to your advantage. Yeah, so that's how I healed myself with that. Now, the really exciting one to me is this next story, and this is from my client. She and I have been working together for several months now, and actually we were working together for SP stuff, and she's having great success with that. But we had a call, this was maybe 2 months ago, I guess. Had a call, and she was like, okay, I really need to talk to you. This is not our normal stuff that we talk about, but I'm freaking out right now because my uncle just got diagnosed with cancer. Okay. Her uncle is basically a father figure to her, has been her whole life, and she loves him dearly. And like, obviously hearing that news was heartbreaking to her. And he was diagnosed with lung cancer, which, to her and her family, unfortunately, wasn't that surprising because he's a smoker. And she's like, you know what? Ever since I can remember, he's been a smoker. And we were telling him all the time, like everyone in my family has always said, if you don't quit, you're gonna end up getting lung cancer. And there you go. It happened, you know, you keep saying it over and over and over again. It's going to eventually happen, you know? So she was like, I don't know what to do. I know I can, you know, manifest that he's healthy, but I'm so shaken right now. I don't even know which way I want to go. Like, I don't know how I want to do this. So we talked, and, you know, we weighed the different options of how she could do this. And she decided what she wanted to do was she wanted to revise that he was never a smoker, ever, never smoked a cigarette in his life. And to her, that was actually more important because she felt like, well, first of all, okay, even though he got diagnosed with lung cancer, was still smoking at the time. And she's like, that's what really upsets me, is that he's so addicted to cigarettes that he knows he has lung cancer, and he's still going to continue to put that thing in his body that gave him the illness in the first place, you know? So, she was really upset about that. And she said, yeah, I want to revise it. I want to revise that he's never smoked a cigarette a day in his life. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's do this. Revision, it's so underrated, I feel. Like, revision is extremely powerful. So if you're going to revise that something never happened years and years and years ago, that literally, it doesn't only change, you know, your memory of it. Because I've had clients ask me that before. They're like, well, does that just change the way I feel about the situation? Yeah, it does. But it also changes everything that's played out after that fact. So like, when you're revising that, you know, he's never smoked a cigarette a day in his life, well, everything that's happened because of him smoking is not going to be a factor anymore because you're revising that he's never smoked a day in his life. So anyways, she wanted to revise it. She was dead set on it. And I was really excited about it because I love revision and I know how powerful it is. So that's exactly what she did. And the way that she revised it was, and this is the way that I tell everybody to revise, she wrote down exactly what she wanted to happen. So for her, for this situation, because it's not like a specific event that happened, it's like him starting to smoke, you know, picking up a cigarette for the first time. It's not like an event that she was there to witness. So you can't really play out that scene in your mind where it's like, okay, this and this and this happened, and then this is where I want to revise. It's like this started happening before she was born. So she had to revise that in her life, her uncle has never been a smoker. So how did she do that? She wrote a story about who her uncle was. And she kind of did it in a form of like a journal entry or like a diary. So she wrote out, this is who my uncle is. I love him so much. He's raised me. Basically, he's pretty much a father to me. And, you know, he enjoys watching baseball. He loves to go to the racetrack to watch horses race. He loves to take me on vacations to the beach. We love to go to the beach together. She wrote all this stuff about him and then nothing in there about smoking. And she was like, okay, I don't really know how this is going to work. So I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to create a story where somebody asked him, as the age that he was whenever he started smoking, find that out, ask him when he started smoking, and then revise that event. So she spoke to him. He said he started smoking when he was 15. So she asked him what happened. How did he start smoking? He said his friend gave him a cigarette and said like, hey, you want this? And he said, sure. That's what happened. And then he smoked ever since. So she said, okay, I'm going to change the story. She wrote it down. She said, oh, my uncle told me this story about how when he was 15, he was at school, he was talking to some friends, and this guy asked him to smoke, and he said no. And she even created a little bit of more of a, you know, backstory around it. So she was like, everybody was laughing at him, made fun of him, said he was a loser, but he didn't care because he knew that he didn't want to do that. He did not want to be a smoker. That's it. That's what she did. So that's the story that she wrote. She said everything about her uncle that she could think of that she loved about him, everything that made him who he is to her. And that's what she wrote. And it wasn't that long. It was like maybe a page, okay? Maybe a page, not even. And that was it. She wrote it once. That was it. So write it down once. Then every morning, you're going to read through that story over and over and over again until you feel good about it, until it feels good to you. Then again, in the afternoon at some point, go ahead and read it again. Read it. And then wait until it feels good. And when I say good, it doesn't mean it has to feel amazing. It just has to feel, okay, yep, I'm good with this. This story feels good to me, feels familiar, feels right. Again, before bed, read it again and again and again and again. And if you want to do it more often than those 3 times, you can. But I absolutely think it's important to do it at least those 3 times. So that's what she did. And she did this for, like I said, 2 months, okay? And so this is what's really crazy. The cancer, like when he got diagnosed with cancer, they had to send in the cells to see if they were cancerous or not. They said they were. So his next plan of action was going to be looking into doing chemotherapy. While she was doing this revision this whole time, about a month and a half after doing the revision, she was talking to her mom, and her mom mentioned something about how her neighbor has cancer. And she said, oh no, what kind of cancer is it? And her mom said, it's lung cancer. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. I'm so upset. And my client said, I can't believe we know 2 people who have lung cancer now. And didn't even think about it, just slipped, saying it, even though she's trying to live in the end and do this revision. And her mom said, who else do you know that has lung cancer? I only know her. And she said, really? Oh, okay. Maybe I'm mixing it up. Like, she did not even want to bring up her uncle because she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I think this revision is working. And it's like her mom knows or knew for a fact that her uncle had lung cancer. It's her brother. It's her mom's brother. So she was like, this is crazy to me, but I don't want to stop doing the revision because I don't have the proof yet that he doesn't have cancer. So she kept on with it. And like I said, got up to the 2-month mark, pretty much 2 months. It might have been like 2 months and a week, but she ended up talking to her uncle, and they had seen this guy smoking cigarettes, okay? And she hadn't seen her uncle because I guess they used to live super, super close, like so close that she could literally just walk to his house. But he had moved like 2 years prior. So even though they were still close, talking on the phone all the time, they weren't seeing each other in person. So he came to visit with the mom, and then obviously came to see my client as well. And they had seen somebody smoking while they were walking down the street. And she was like, ugh, I hate seeing people smoke cigarettes. And her uncle was like, I know, it's such a disgusting habit. And she expected him to laugh, like he's obviously joking because he's a smoker. And he didn't laugh. And she was like, yeah, it is disgusting. And like kind of looked over at him. And he was like, yeah, I know, I agree. And she's like, yeah, She's like, I did not know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I was freaking out. And it was as if he was not a smoker. Like he was not relating to it at all. He was like, yeah, smoking's gross. Wasn't joking about it, wasn't laughing. So she's like, oh my God, I think this worked. I think it's worked completely. What do I do? How do I find out that he doesn't have cancer anymore without like bringing it up? And I'm like, well, that's up to you. You do whatever you want, you know? To me, it seems like it's already done. He doesn't have cancer. But if you want to start a conversation and figure that out, that's up to you. You know, do what you want to do. I can't, whatever happens in the 3D, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. You're not going to ruin anything. So she ended up talking to him before he left to go back home. And she was like, so yeah, did you hear that mom's neighbor has cancer? And he was like, yeah, that's so sad. They had a full-blown like 10-minute conversation about cancer, lung cancer, smoking, and literally he had nothing to say about it. He was just like, man, that's really, you know, that's hard. I hope she's okay. That's the problem. Smoking, you know, can cause all sorts of health problems. You know, he's like, it's really not a good situation. And she's like, there's no way that he even knows that he had cancer. Like, I'm just in shock right now. And what she eventually did was, after the 2 months, she still continued to read the story, and that was her fact. Like, she was like, this is the truth. I don't know anything else anymore. This is 100% a fact. And you do this. You revise and revise and revise and revise, and you continue to read that story over and over and over and over and over again until you get to the point where that's your memory. That's the first thing that pops up in your mind, not the old story anymore. It almost doesn't even feel like it was real. That's how you're going to know that you've revised it. And that's what I told her, and that's what she said. She was like, it feels 100% real that he was never a smoker, and I'm seeing evidence of it in the 3D as well. So I said, okay, stick with that. The final, I guess, straw, if you want to call it, was that she had talked to her mom a few weeks after that. So it had already been 2 months. Then he went home, her uncle went home, and then it was a couple weeks after that. And her mom said, oh, I was talking to your uncle, and we were joking because, you know, having to get physicals at this age, it's just such a process and so irritating. She was like, so, you know, we were joking around about it. And she was like, but, you know, we both got clean bills of health, so guess we can't complain too much. And as soon as she said that, as soon as her mom said that, she was like, it's done. Like, it's done. He is completely healthy. He was never a smoker, and that's what's real now. That's the truth. That's my reality. And that's literally it. That's literally it. That's exactly what happened. The way that revision changes everything in your reality is so amazing. I want all of you guys to try it, whether it's something major, big in your life, or it's something that's just not that important and you just want to test it out. You should do it because it's insane to experience the revision process. Like it's really, really amazing. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed those success stories. I love, you know, when people are changing their lives. And again, yes, I love SP, I love love, I love all of that stuff. But when it comes to health, that's something that truly, it affects your entire life if you're dealing with health issues. So these type of success stories are extra exciting for me. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you need any help with revision, with, you know, changing the story, with whatever, I am here for you guys, and I would be happy to help you. If you want to work with me, that information will be in the description box below. And thank you so much again for joining me, guys, and I will see you in the next one.